Good day. Thank you for joining me. Some things to discuss, but first, I will be faithful to you. I do vow, but not until the seas have all run dry, etc. Although I mean it now, I'm not a prophet, and I will not lie. I'll love, yes, honor, maybe. I won't obey. I won't. But I will cooperate if you will care as much as you are seeming to today. I'll do my best to be your better half, but I don't have the patience of a saint. And at you, not with you, I will sometimes laugh and snap, too, though I'll try to show restraint. We might work out. No blame if we do not. With all my heart, I think it's worth a shot. When I am sad and weary, and I think all hope is gone, then I'll walk along the high Holborn and think of you with nothing on. Sometimes the words of another, you know what I mean? So, have you noticed that creative drift rarely announces itself? No trumpets, no dramatic collapse, no moment where you wake up and say, well, today's not the day. My artistic discipline has officially left the building. It's much quieter than that. It looks like scrolling a little longer than you meant to. Just doom scrolling and seeing what your friends are up to and what memes are popular and what's going on in the news. Starting 3 ideas and not finishing any of them. Convincing yourself that you're thinking about the work, but not actually doing the work. And the strange thing is, if you're a creative person, a performer, a speaker, an artist, you can drift for a long time before you really notice it. Because you still care. You still care about your art. You still care about the magic, the words, the poetry. You still talk about the craft, and you love the idea of the work, but the structure has quietly loosened and is slipping away. And when that happens, something subtle begins to change. Not your talent, your direction. 3 signs. Today I want to talk about 3 signs that show you might be drifting creatively, and more importantly, how to gently steer yourself back on course to point back to the goal you set for yourself. Commitment is not a mood, it's a decision that you have to constantly renew. Okay, so let me tell you something that took me much longer than I should have to learn. Long time ago, I assumed that creativity worked like the weather, like the sun rising and setting, that it was constant and it would always be there. The muse was always at my side. And some days, it just didn't. She wasn't there. There was just nothing to lean on. The weather can change in a heartbeat. And in the days that it didn't work, well, I assumed that meant the creative universe had decided to take the afternoon off. It's a very mystical explanation. It's very convenient. And then I figured it out. I started performing regularly. I was getting out on the street, going to the restaurants, doing what I do night after night, where sometimes people cared and sometimes they didn't. And then regulation came in. It really kind of began with the first residencies that I started getting, the first restaurants, the first regular corporate gigs, especially places like working the Magic Castle, where people would buy a ticket to come in, and they don't care if I had a bad day. They don't care if my love had left me. It does not care if my dog has run away. They don't care that the muse didn't show up, that I just didn't feel like practicing that day. No, they paid their money and they took their seat, and they expected professionalism. They expected quality for the ticket they bought. And I took away from that personal creativity is not always built on inspiration. It's built on the structure. Like I talked about a day or two ago, uh, making a structure, making this your job, making this being serious about creativity. And that changed everything. So when I find myself drifting creatively now, which happens from time to time, there's an awful lot of distraction out there. There's a lot of things you feel like you just got to put your hands on and do something about. And you're not wrong. However, your first commitment as an artist is to the art. The art can heal, the art can change the world, but not just by snapping your fingers. You've got to put the work into it so that it becomes something of quality, so it has a fighting chance of affecting lives, of it changing the world. You have to be dead serious about it. Okay. 3 signs that you might be drifting creatively. I have notes here. Just that's what I'm glancing at down. Step 1, you are consuming more than you are creating. I love good books. I love good films. I love good music. I love discovering new books, new music, new movies. And artists should be nourished by other artists. But drift begins when consumption quietly replaces creation. You start the day intending to write something. You check an article, you check a video, you listen to a podcast, you start researching new cameras or new microphones. And suddenly you've spent hours around the work without actually doing the work. Creative people can be incredibly productive researchers. But the craft itself requires output, a paragraph, a rehearsal, a rough idea, a bit of inspiration from yourself jotted down on a piece of paper, a little paint on the canvas, a few notes pushed through the instrument. Creation keeps the muscles awake, here and here and here, especially. Sign number 2, everything feels equally important. This is a sneaky one. When you are aligned creatively, you know what the work is. There might be many opportunities, many platforms, many possibilities, but you know the center of gravity. And when you start drifting, suddenly everything looks urgent. New projects, new tools, new strategies, new directions, new distractions. And you begin reorganizing your system instead of just practicing your craft. It feels productive, but it often means the work itself has slipped slightly out of focus. The creative life is not built by doing everything, it's built by doing the right thing repeatedly. Practicing the right thing again and again and again till the technique becomes integral and second nature. Sign 3, you're waiting until you feel like it. This is a big one. If creativity depended on mood, almost no meaningful work would ever get finished because moods are fickle, big, fickle creatures. You get hungry, you get sleepy, you get distracted, you get horny. Creatures wander, they get distracted, they sleep in. Commitment shows up. It shows up on days when the page looks absolutely unimpressed with you, when the audience doesn't clap, when the rehearsal feels flat, when there's no response from the audience yet. And what you discover in those moments is something that can be very beautiful. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates clarity. Clarity invites inspiration back into the room. When we find a new romantic partner, when there is the possibility of love in the air, we clean under our fingernails. We brush our hair just so. We make sure our shirts are pressed just right. You dress well. You take the extra effort to cook, to buy flowers, to open the doors, right? And we as humans tend to, once things become normal, once they become daily, the possibility of letting it slack becomes very real. We forget to compliment. We don't bring flowers unexpectedly. We don't make the plans. We fall into the I don't know, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know, what would you want to do? The confidence that you had when you are trying to woo, when you are trying to seduce, when you are trying to show them your confidence and your heart is parallel to the art that you make. Fall in love with them again. The secret to longevity, and trust me, I am no expert on this one. I know the rule. I've had trouble in the past in following it, but I know the rule. Is to keep committing, to keep realizing what a gift this person is, and looking past the things that can be annoying, the flaws that originally attracted you that suddenly, the flaw makes the jewel, right? And you can't allow the flaw to overcome the beauty that you originally saw. And art is the same way. Remember why you fell in love with it in the first place and do the work to keep it. The muse is fickle as hell and will go to the next person that shows the confidence and shows the attention. Make a place at the table and make sure it's always ready. The mood will arrive after the commitment is shown. Now, my pupper is playing over here next to me on the floor. If you recognize any of these signs, more consuming than creating, everything suddenly seeming urgent, waiting to feel like it, let me give you this assurance. You are not failing. You are simply drifting. And drift is normal. Every artist I know, every great artist I ever known has experienced it. The solution is not a dramatic reinvention. The solution is in gentle correction. Return to the work. Write something small. Rehearse something simple. Share something honest. Reveal your heart. Little tiny ways. And then do it again tomorrow. And the next day and the next. 7 days of small, deliberate commitment can change the entire direction of your creative life. Not because of one brilliant idea, but because you remind yourself daily of who you are. And when you find out who you are, you will achieve the happiness and the direction and the goals that you set forth with your art. Be someone who shows up. Be the one who practices, someone who builds something meaningful, one deliberate step at a time. And if you're walking your road quietly, patiently, with discipline and a little curiosity, you're in very, very good company. And you have set yourself back at the table. And your guests can trust that what you're about to serve them is going to be worth consuming. More than anything, fall in love with your work again. Fall in love with your gift again. It is as glorious and magnificent as it ever was, and it deserves your attention. I hope there's love where you are. See you tomorrow.